The morning everything changed. Let me tell you something nobody talks about. The moment your life falls apart. I mean, really falls apart. It doesn't sound like screaming. It doesn't look like the movies. It's quiet. It's a Tuesday afternoon. It's a borrowed laptop. It's a message on a screen you weren't supposed to see. And just like that, 13 years gone. My name is Daniel Harmon. I'm 41 years old. I live in Atlanta, Georgia. And the day I found out my wife was cheating on me, I didn't yell. I didn't break anything. I didn't even cry. I just sat at my kitchen table, a school permission slip still in my hand, the printer still warm, and I made a decision. I was done pretending. Claire and I met at a backyard cookout in Nashville when we were 26. She laughed at something I said that wasn't even that funny, and I thought, yeah, this is her. This is the one. We got married at 27, bought our first house at 29, had our daughter Lily at 30, then Grace came along at 32. From the outside, we were that couple. Sunday dinners, family photos where everyone's actually smiling, the kind of life that looks so put together from the outside that even you start believing it. But somewhere around year 8, something shifted. It didn't happen overnight. There was no big blow up, no single moment I could point to and say, there, that's where we lost it. It was slower, quieter. Like a leak in the wall you ignore for so long you forget the wall was ever dry. She stopped asking about my day. I stopped expecting her to. We moved around each other in that house like two strangers sharing a waiting room. Polite, distant, careful. I kept telling myself it was just a rough patch. Every marriage has those, right? I was wrong. I found out about Marcus on a Tuesday in March. I wasn't snooping, I want to be clear about that. I borrowed her laptop to print a permission slip for Grace's field trip. A message popped up before I could look away. I won't tell you what it said, but I sat at that kitchen table for a long, long time. When Claire walked through the door that evening, I didn't raise my voice, didn't throw anything. I just looked at her and said, real quiet, I think we both know this is over. She started talking. I held up my hand. Not tonight, I said. The girls are upstairs. That was the last real conversation we had as a married couple. What came next was the kind of hard nobody warns you about. Not the grief, people warn you about that. It was the logistics, the attorneys, the conference rooms that smell like recycled air and bad decisions. The moment when 13 years of your life gets reduced to line items on a spreadsheet. My attorney was a sharp woman named Patricia Walsh. No nonsense, direct, exactly what I needed. She told me early on, Daniel, stay calm, don't react, let the process work. So I did. I moved into a 2-bedroom apartment in Decatur that October. Nothing fancy, just enough room for me and the girls on weekends. Lily helped me unpack boxes that first day. She was 14, quiet, watching me the whole time like she was trying to figure out how much of her world was still standing. Grace, she was 9, walked straight to the kitchen and started organizing the spice rack alphabetically. She had never done that at home, but she needed to do it here. This is cozy, Daddy, she said. 9 years old and already trying to take care of me. That was the first time I cried. I thought the hardest part was over. I thought once the apartment felt like mine, once the girls found their rhythm between two houses, I thought that was the finish line. Then Patricia called me one Wednesday morning. Her voice was different, controlled, but different. Daniel, I need you to come in. I left work early. When I sat down across from her, she put a folder on the table between us. The financial disclosures Claire submitted, she said, don't match what we've been able to verify. She walked me through it carefully. Accounts that hadn't been mentioned, transfers made in the 18 months before we filed, numbers that, when placed side by side, told a completely different story. I looked at her. How significant? She met my eyes. Significant enough that the settlement changes, here's what I want you to understand. I didn't feel good sitting there. I didn't feel like I'd won something. I felt tired and sad, and quietly certain that the woman I had married had become someone I genuinely did not recognize. I didn't call Claire after that meeting. Patricia handled everything the way she was supposed to. The revised settlement landed on Claire's attorney's desk on a Friday morning. Patricia told me later that Claire's response came within the hour. Not angry exactly, more like someone who had just realized the floor had dropped out from under them without any warning at all. The weekend after it was finalized, Lily and Grace were with me. We made blueberry pancakes Saturday morning, the kind where Grace always pours in too much vanilla and the batter turns this weird purple color. Lily stood at the counter, half on her phone, half with us. At some point, she looked up at me and said, "Dad, are you okay? Like, actually?" I looked at this 14-year-old girl with her mother's eyes and my stubbornness, and I thought about how to be honest without putting weight on her that she didn't deserve to carry. "I think I'm getting there," I said. She nodded. "Good." That was it. No follow-up, just good. Teenager to father. Some things take time, and that's allowed. Grace ate 4 pancakes. Didn't mention the purple batter once. But here's the thing, nobody tells you about starting over. The legal stuff, the paperwork, that's the easy part. The hard part comes after. The hard part is a Tuesday night when the girls are at their mom's and the apartment is dead silent and you're eating cereal for dinner because you forgot to go to the grocery store. And you realize you don't actually know what you like anymore. For 13 years, your whole life was built around someone else's rhythms, what she wanted for dinner, what made her laugh, what to avoid saying at 9 p.m. when she was tired, and now there's just you. And honestly, you're not sure who that is. My mom called me that February. Roberta Harmon, retired school teacher from Savannah, practical woman, doesn't do long emotional conversations. She said, "Daniel, when's the last time you did something just for yourself?" I said, "I went to the gym last week." She said, "That doesn't count. That's maintenance. I mean, something you actually wanted to do." I didn't have an answer. She let the silence sit. "That's what I thought," she said. She wasn't being mean. She was being my mother. And she was right. I had spent so many years being a husband, being a father, that somewhere along the way, I had quietly let go of the version of me that existed before any of that. The guy who used to drive 2 hours just to catch a college football game, who spent entire Saturdays in a wood shop building things that had no practical use but felt good to make, who had friends, real ones, who knew him as just Daniel, not Claire's husband, not Lily's dad, just Daniel. Most of those friendships had faded the way they do when life gets crowded. No drama, just distance, unanswered texts, two people drifting into different orbits without even noticing. Starting over, I was realizing, wasn't just about surviving the loss, it was about remembering who you were before you got so lost inside someone else's life. I called my old college friend Marcus Webb on a Saturday morning in March. We hadn't talked in almost 2 years. 4 rings. I was about to hang up. Then, Harmon. Just my last name, the way he always said it. Like no time had passed at all. "Webb," I said. And that was enough. We talked for 2 hours. I sat on my apartment balcony with coffee that went completely cold, and I didn't even notice. We jumped between serious and stupid the way only old friends can. No catching up, just picking up. I told him everything. The real version. Not the edited one I'd been giving coworkers and acquaintances. He listened the whole way through without interrupting. When I finished, he was quiet for a second. Then he said, "You sound different, man." "Different how?" "Like yourself," he said. "You sound like yourself again."
I hadn't realized until he said it out loud that I hadn't, not in a very long time. Lily noticed it too, in her own way. She was at my place in April, doing homework at the kitchen table while I cooked. At some point, she looked up. "You're humming," she said. "Am I?" "You used to do that when I was little," she said. "You stopped for a while. I didn't know what to say. So I just smiled and handed her a glass of water. But I thought about it later that night. The things your kids notice that you don't even realize you're doing, the signals you send without meaning to, the way a home feels when the person inside it is at war with themselves, versus the way it feels when they're finally, slowly finding their footing again. Grace had a harder spring. She's a kid who carries things quietly. She wasn't acting out. She just got still in ways that were new. Some days she didn't want to talk much. Other days she'd climb into my lap like she was six again and just stay there. I let her. I didn't push, didn't try to get her to process out loud. Before she was ready, I just made sure the lap was always there when she needed it. One night she was sitting next to me on the couch, and out of nowhere she said, "Daddy, do you think mom is happy now?" I thought about it for a real second before I answered. "I think she's figuring things out," I said. "Same as me. Do you want her to be happy?" "Yeah," I said, "I do, and I meant it." She got quiet for a moment, then, "I want everyone to be happy at the same time. Is that even possible?" "Sometimes," I said. "Not always all at once, but eventually, yeah, I think so." She nodded like that made sense. Kids don't always need the perfect answer. They need an honest one that doesn't come with panic attached. Claire and I found something over those months that I don't really have a word for. Not friendship, not quite, more like a mutual agreement to be decent for the sake of two girls who needed to see that their parents could be in the same room without the air going cold. The first time it really worked was at Grace's spring recital. We sat 6 seats apart in the school auditorium. When Grace walked out on stage in her little white blouse and squinted against the lights looking for familiar faces, she found mine first, then her mother's. She waved at both of us with that same frantic little wave. Afterward in the lobby, Claire and I stood next to each other for about 3 minutes while Grace got hugged by her grandma. "She did so well," Claire said. "She really did," I agreed. It wasn't warm exactly, but it wasn't cold either. It was two people choosing their daughter over their history. That felt like something. I won't lie to you and say the road after that was easy. There were weeks that were genuinely good, weeks where the life I was building felt small but real and mine. The woodshop space I rented on weekends, the Tuesday and Thursday morning runs. I started back up, the dinners at Marcus and Jana's place where I laughed so hard my face hurt and drove home thinking, I forgot this existed. And then there were the other weeks, the one where I drove past the old house and saw the lights on inside and felt something I couldn't name, the one where Lily called me crying about something that had nothing to do with the divorce and everything to do with it. The one where I sat in a parking lot for 15 minutes before a first date I'd agreed to go on, trying to talk myself out of going home. I didn't go home. The date was perfectly fine. She was perfectly nice. We said we'd do it again, and both of us knew we wouldn't. I drove back to my apartment and made tea and sat at the kitchen table thinking about how strange it is, being a middle aged man starting completely from scratch. Not bad strange, just strange. The moment it all shifted, really shifted, came in June. Lily's eighth grade graduation, warm Thursday evening, that kind of early Georgia summer night where the air is soft and everything smells like fresh cut grass and something new about to happen. I sat in the gymnasium bleachers next to my mom, who had driven up from Savannah and was already crying before a single kid walked across that stage. Claire sat on the other side of the room with her parents. When they called Lily's name, She walked across that stage with her chin up and looked out into the crowd with an expression I hadn't seen on her face in over a year. Easy, settled, like herself. She found me, she found her mother. She grinned at both of us. It's no hesitation, no tension, just her. Something in my chest came loose. Later, in the parking lot, Lily stood between Claire and me for a photo her grandma insisted on. Slightly awkward, completely fine. Lily put one arm around each of us and smiled, and it was just a photo of a family that had changed shape, but hadn't stopped being one. My mom looked at me over Lily's head. She didn't say a word. She just nodded once. Roberta Harmon didn't need to say it out loud. There's an older guy at the wood shop I rent space in, retired teacher named Paul. Quiet man. Has a way of asking the simplest questions that land harder than they should. One afternoon, he looked up from what he was working on and asked me, "You ever think about going back, doing it differently?" I thought about it for a real moment. I would have had the honest conversations earlier, I said. The ones I kept putting off because I was scared of what they'd cost me. What were you scared they'd cost? He asked. The life I thought I had, I said. He nodded slowly, kept sanding. And what did not having them cost you? I didn't answer. I didn't need to. Here's what 2 years on the other side of the hardest thing I've ever been through has taught me. The life you protect by staying silent, it isn't even the life you think it is. It's a surface, a version, something that looks solid from the outside, but has been hollow for longer than you've been willing to admit. The real life, the one where your daughter hums in the kitchen, your old friend calls you by your last name, your youngest falls asleep on the couch on a Friday night without a worry in the world. That life doesn't come from protecting what you have. It comes from being honest about what you've already lost and then deciding quietly without any big announcement to build something true. I'm talking to you from the apartment in Decatur that has, without me fully noticing, started to feel like home. There are things on the walls now. Lily picked out a print she liked and I hung it above the couch. Grace's drawings cover the refrigerator, the bookshelf I've been building in the wood shop. Nothing fancy, just solid wood and clean lines, is almost done. Marcus Webb and I talk every couple weeks. Jana has started including me in their dinner invitations the way you include family. I run Tuesday and Thursday mornings. I'm not fast. That's not the point. The girls are okay. Really okay? Not performing okay? Actually settling into their lives? Two houses, two rhythms, two parents who are each in their own separate ways, figuring out what comes next. That's not nothing. That's actually a whole lot. I don't know where you are right now. Maybe you're at the beginning, sitting in a car outside a courthouse with your hands on the steering wheel and the engine off. And for the first time in years, the quiet doesn't hurt. Maybe you're in the middle of it, eating cereal alone on a Tuesday night in an apartment that still feels borrowed, wondering who you even are outside of who you used to be. Maybe you're further along than you expected to be, and you're realizing that further along doesn't mean finished. It just means you've earned a different kind of question. Wherever you are, the quiet you're reaching for is real. It takes longer than you want it to. Some days it doesn't feel like it's coming at all, but it is. And when it gets here, it's yours. Nobody can touch it. If the story found you at the right moment, drop something in the comments. I read every single one. Tell me where you are. Tell me what you're carrying. And if you know someone who needs to hear this today, please share it with them. You never know what someone is sitting with alone. More stories are coming, each one about ordinary people who chose something real over something easy. Take care of yourself. I'll see you next time.